Hey everybody, what's going on? Juan here. Welcome back to the channel, and for this video I want to talk about a topic that ideally none of us ever want to have to sit down and have this conversation, but unfortunately, based on the events that have already happened, and we're just on the second month of the year, with these terrible mass shootings, most recently last week in Florida, 17 people dead in a school out of all the different places. Think of all these vulnerable children that the last thing that they have on their mind is that somebody goes in there and does these horrific events. And obviously, this has spiraled conversations about gun control, mental health, and the possibility that video games can somehow influence somebody to doing something as horrific as this. So this video is not going to be about gun control because I know that conversation is very extensive and so many people are talking about that. But I just want to be able to sit down here as somebody with, number one, mental health challenges. I've been very open about that. I actually have a video on the channel where I talk about 5 ways that video games have actually helped me overcome my mental health challenges. So I'll make sure to link that at the end of this. And then number 2, I just want to give my perspective as a video gamer. Just seeing these outrageous claims from politicians claiming that video games are almost this simulator that can really help you perform these actions. But I first want to take it back and I want to open up. I want to talk a little bit about why I'm so passionate about this topic. As I mentioned in my previous videos, I have 3 mental health diagnoses, that being depression, generalized anxiety, and obsessive compulsive disorder. I have been medicated. I've been off of medication for 10 years, but I was medicated since I was a child. I've received a psychological and psychiatric treatment. I had 3 attempts against my life, and I did have a violent past, but it was because my anxiety got out of control that I would literally yell. I would hit myself even in a fridge just to get my thoughts to go down. Not once did I ever want to intentionally hurt anybody, or did I ever try to actually do that. And then on the opposite side of the spectrum, talking about video games, I've been a video gamer all my life. And if anything, because of my mental health challenges, I became a very isolated person. I basically didn't leave my house for multiple years. I developed social anxiety, social phobia. The thought about walking inside of a mall would drive me insane. I would start, sweating like crazy because I was afraid. I was very obese, so my self-esteem was at the bottom. Basically, any thought that could go through your head as to why you should never socialize with anybody, I pretty much had that. But thanks to the wonder of video games, I was able to transport myself into different worlds and become the hero of a video game. Later on, we got access to online gaming. So I would play games like SOCOM 2. I would talk about wrestling with some of my friends online and play some of those wrestling video games. The first time that my wife and I actually got some sort of interaction was playing Unreal Tournament 2004, which by definition is an ultra-violent game. So if we go based on these allegations that people with mental health and people that play violent video games are murderers, then does that make me a murderer? I'm pretty sure it doesn't. If anything, it's completely the contrary. I do mental health advocate work. I've been the president of multiple councils. I do speaking arrangements at schools to prevent this exact type of thing happening, to make sure that people have increased access to treatment. So when I sit down here and I can say that my wife, I really got to meet through video games. My best friends, and you see right there at the corner, I have an Extra Life badge. Extra Life is living proof that we can play games and we can heal kids. And a lot of the gamers in that community, we become best friends and we chat about everything that we do in our life every single day. So this is the beautiful world that we have with video games. But on the opposite side of the spectrum, I've also had the conversation with many people that do not care about video games, that only view video games as a waste of time, because why play video game when you can go outside and play sports? Which my answer to that is you can do both. And why must everybody like sports? I don't like sports. I like professional wrestling, which hey, I know that can spark a completely different conversation, but I love to play Mario. I love to play PlayStation games, and I can do that with friends, and I can listen to a video game podcast while I do exercise at my home. Why do I need to live the lifestyle that other people think I should live? And it's very unfortunate that when you talk to all these people that don't care about video games, that only see a picture of Grand Theft Auto and a prostitute and just assume that every single video game is like that, it doesn't matter how much you actually try to talk to them about this. A lot of times they close their shop up. Their emotional mindset is all about video games are bad for you, and that's the end of the story. Fortunately, this is changing because as time goes by, more people are going to by default play video games. be it on an Android or an iPhone, either by retro games or a modern console or even VR and augmented reality. Video games is going to become a more regular part of culture if it hasn't already. I now want to get to the ridiculous comments that the Kentucky Governor Matt Bevin made about the culture of death, citing that they, talking about video games, have desensitized people to the value of human life, to the dignity of women, because he also made references to porn in this context, to the dignity of human decency. We're reaping what we've shown. Which, what? So if you show somebody porn and say it's like this, fake fantasy thing where it's like a plumber that's going in and all of a sudden the woman can't pay, like, is that what you're advocating? That you pay instead of money? You pay with sex? So if in a video game you play as the God of War, you're going to actually become a real-life God of War? And trying to be as objective as possible, his point is about desensitizing people, which is that when you're frequently exposed to something, in this case violence, it becomes normal, and eventually you just stop caring about it. But is video games really the main thing to blame about this topic? I mean, look at news, look at newspapers, look at all the negative things that are happening. I'm pretty sure that back in the day, when we had the First World War, we didn't have Pong or any other game that people looked at and went like, what is this? I don't like this. I'm going to go to war with anybody. Picture your favorite plate, be it a dessert, something savory, and you have that thing once a week or even once a month, and you can't help but look forward to that. When you finally eat it, it's like, yes, we finally got that moment. But imagine if you had your favorite treat or plate every single day of the week. Eventually, you wouldn't even not just care about it, you would hate to eat it. Anything can desensitize us, and we're talking about traffic. I mean, who likes going to traffic, right? Some of us at some point have honked the horn, yelled at somebody, insulted somebody. We have ongoing relationship problems. A tweet, a Facebook post, reading the newspaper, any of these different things can cause us to be upset, can cause us to be happy, sad, and the more that we are exposed to these things, the less and less we're going to see it as this initial reaction of over-the-topness, and we're just going to start accepting these things. Even all of us right now, think about the first time that you heard about a mass shooting. I remember I must have been like 11 or 12 when it was that I really started to understand what this was like. And contrary to now it's like another one? Like seriously? More so than shocked, I'm just like disappointed. I am like amazed because we talk about movies being these events that would never happen in real life. Dare I say that real life is doing more incredible, outrageous things than movies have. I wanted to make sure that this video wasn't just about my opinion, so I did go to social media and I got a couple of comments here that I'm definitely happy I got these from you. So the first one comes from Mark, and he writes, before video games, we kids played cowboys and Indians and war, and all the deaths were pretend deaths, and we knew the difference. This comment right here takes us back to when we used to play hide and seek in the streets, or as he mentioned, cowboys and Indians. And if we killed a friend, we knew that it was a pretend death. It wasn't somebody actually dying. We could differentiate reality between fantasy. It was a magical thing. And now we're under this assumption that we can't do something because somebody can take it literally and actually go along through with it. But think about all the different things that we could technically apply this to. Like say you're trying to lose some of the weight and you go to Cheesecake Factory or Longhorn or Chili's or your favorite place. You look at the menu, and because they're exposing you to something, you can then sue them because you're trying to lose weight for health concerns, but here's like, a molten lava cake or something like that. If you're somebody that takes things way too much on a literal fashion, then maybe somebody should sit with you. I don't know, maybe say a parent should sit with you and have this conversation about, hey, what we're doing right now is make believe. Please do not do this because this is bad for you. And keep doing that and find creative ways to do it. It's like when people used to say no to drugs. We find out those types of campaigns do not work. You got to get creative. The reason that I felt the need to record this video is because this is not the first time that we have this link between video games and violence. Look, I'm not blind to the fact that a lot of video games do contain high volumes of violence. So do movies, so does music. And I mean, this governor, he does make direct ties to each and everything. But that's the thing. It's like violence has existed everywhere forever. For that matter, we also have a lot of songs talk about sex. Is everybody going to go out there raping everybody? No. Think about the millions and millions of gamers around the world. And then think about those millions and millions of players and the ones that are not killing, the ones that are not going out there saying, hey, I played this video game, so now I'm going to be violent in real life. For every game that has an element of violence, we have games that have a coin collection, puzzles, platformers, cooperative gameplay. We have Lego games where you got to build things. We have games like Minecraft that, yeah, they kind of have violence, but that's not really the point. The point is that you want to make this house look pretty, in a pixely looking format. So whenever these allegations that video games and violence have this direct connection that can influence somebody to perform this kind of action, we need to realize that not everybody has self-control. And that is not a problem with video games. That's why we have gambling problems. We have addiction problems. It is a human problem, not a video game one. Going back to the comments of the governor, he at one point states that there are video games that, yes, are listed for mature audiences, but kids play them and everybody knows it. And there's nothing to prevent the child from playing them. Except there are things that prevent the child from playing them. There's parental control. And there's like this thing that if you have a parent, a responsible parent, they can like sit with the child and tell them, hey, maybe this game isn't for you. Maybe you go to the store and speak to the clerk that's selling an M-rated game to a child and be like, hey, don't do that. I just find it ridiculous that we're completely giving up on the human that has the responsibility, the social responsibility, the educational responsibility of being able to differentiate the right from wrong. And we're just saying that if somebody does this, and apparently they played Doom, which was a constant factor back in the day about these shootings. It's like, hey, he played Doom, and that has demons in it, so it's bad. So he's a demon. A longtime supporter of the channel, Ashley, also had something to say about this topic. I grew playing them, referring to video games, and turned out fine. I'm raising a family and have a great career. I think that if parents would take the time and talk to their kids and actually be parents, we wouldn't have this stuff going on like we do today. At the same time, I feel like if you have something going on upstairs, referring to a mental health problem, that the video games are not going to be what makes you act on it. But we still had killers and people doing evil stuff. I think it's a little bit insane that we've completely forgotten about the fact that most of the video games and movies that have come out today, and even for the past 50 to 60 years, have been influenced by real life. Look at Texas Chainsaw Massacre, look at Leatherface, that character, and why that came to be. It was based on real life events, something that happened in Wisconsin, and they took that and they definitely ran with it. But these people were already doing these horrific things way before video games became mainstream. And as a backup, another friend had something to say about this in that it's a bigger mental health issue. There is a huge number of people who could be exposed to video games, movies, TV, books, etc., and not be compelled to emulate it. Overall, I think the concluding factor is that we can't look at one specific thing as the source or the solution to the problem, because we can have the perfect parent providing the perfect guidance and still have this happen. We can have the perfect teacher, same outcome. We can have the absolute perfect mental health program to provide the person with all the tools necessary, and this could still happen. So we can't point at one thing and be like, you're the problem. You're the source of everything that's happening right now. We got to step back and look at every little thing and be like, okay, when it comes to mental health, we need to, number one, not generalize, because people like myself, people that have received mental health services since a child, we're the ones that have to a lot of times go out there and be like, hey, I'm not going to go out there and do these horrific events. Like, please do not generalize that. But when you go to any of these media sites, you look at the headline, mental health. People go like, oh, I knew these people were crazy. Please do not generalize, because you don't know how many people that are afraid to tweet, that are afraid to speak to their loved ones about, hey, I will love to receive services. But they see these horrific events and go like, no, I'm going to stay quiet because I don't want anybody to think that I could do something as terrible as that, when all I want to do is overcome those odds. I want to become a better person. I want to become a parent. I want to become a responsible human being. But with these things that are happening, I think I'm just going to keep it to myself. And I know it's really juicy to talk about the negative headlines, to call people out right here on YouTube. But if there's one thing that all of us right now, right here on YouTube can do to try to spread awareness about everything that's happening and about the positive things that we can do, is to actually spread positivity. One of the main reasons that I'm open about my mental health challenges is that because I know that by me sharing my story, I can have people reach out to me or reach out to others or reach out to a mental health program to talk about their life and how they want to be better and identify what they need so they can live a better lifestyle. So let's talk about this. Look up an article online about something that's really good and talk about it on your channel. I don't care if your channel is about entertainment, if it's about gaming, if it's about food, whatever it is. This is the point, people. Like in 2018, we're just getting started. This is the month of February. Imagine if we get another horrific mass shooting. We got to get to work, people, because I hate the idea of more things happening like this. I don't want a single more child to die in this insane fashion. I don't have a child, so I can't speak as a parent. But if you're a parent watching this video, I can't even fathom the concern that you have when you leave your child at school or when they leave in the school bus. If you're a teacher, same thing. Like, my hat's off to you, because we cannot tolerate one more event like this. So I know the main topic of this video is talking about how video games do not lead to violence, and I hope that I was able to provide my perspective about this. I could easily talk about this on a live format. I've talked about this already on mental health forums, because video games, more so than the possibility of promoting violence, they can promote something great. And I've been reading this on my own personal time. Check out this book. It's called Reality is Broken. This came out in like 2012 by Jane McGonigal. I think it's how you spell her name. This is not a sponsor, but this book actually talks about how if anything, life should be more like video games, where you strive to be the hero. You know, on a day-to-day basis, maybe you're not exactly the protagonist of a story, but in a video game, you can save the world. You can do all these positive things. And that right there, that's what we got to promote about video games. So folks, I hope that you enjoyed this conversation. What's essential is getting your feedback. So please go to the comment section. And I know that this is a very controversial topic. Not everybody may necessarily agree with my views or with the views of the people that I've shared on this video, but that's how we get to the solution. We go back and forth with the differentiating points, and eventually, hopefully, we can figure something out that helps gamers, grow as gamers and grow as a community. And then when it comes to these horrific events, we can finally identify the source of the problem. So don't forget, folks, you can subscribe to the channel and check out everything else that I have going on. Make sure to also hit that little alarm, that little bell, because YouTube makes it really difficult sometimes to notify when recent videos have gone live. I recently passed 200 subscribers, so thank you guys for supporting the channel. This is not a gaming channel. This is a journal. This is a video journal about everything that I'm doing related to video games, travel, wrestling, cooking, everything that I love, and I hope that you're in it for the ride. So as always, drop any suggestions for things that you'd like me to talk about in a vlog format like this, or anything else. Until next time, thank you for watching and supporting, and never forget, folks, that the epic journey continues. Thanks for watching, gang. Take care.